My name's Sophie, and I'm presenting about Bouillabaisse. The dish Bouillabaisse comes from Paris, France. Specifically, it originated in the southern French city of Marseille. The dish started off known to be a poor man's meal because sailors who worked on fishing boats created it by using the fish that they hadn't sold and made a spicy stew out of it. Traditionally, it is served in a two-course style with a thick fish soup with bread dipped in ruelle, which is like a garlicky sauce, and then larger, chunkier pieces of seafood are added into the soup. The main ingredient in this dish is the tomatoes and the seafood. There's a large amount of tomatoes used in the bouillabaisse to give it an acidic flavor and a bright red color. Other grown ingredients in the dish are garlic, bay leaf, thyme, and parsley. The owner of a popular restaurant in Marseille that has famous bouillabaisse says that it started off with the vegetables. Tomatoes, onion, garlic, fennel, olive oil, and saffron are all added, and then after that's all cooked, about six different types of fish are added. The nutrient composition of bouillabaisse, it has a very, very high protein content and a low carb and low fat content. The shrimp and the various types of fish contribute to most of the protein and the fat content, and the tomatoes, onions, and other vegetables provide the carbs and the vitamin D. About 1 cup of traditional bouillabaisse is only 225 calories and contains lots of protein, around 30 grams. An important vitamin in this dish is the vitamin B12. This recipe has about 221% of the daily value of vitamin B12. This nutrient is for keeping your body's healthy, your blood and nerve cells healthy, and helps make DNA. With the mix of shellfish, shrimp, vegetables, this makes it to be a very, very good source of vitamin B12. There's also about 37% of our daily value of vitamin D and 32% of vitamin B6. Bouillabaisse is a very nutrient rich dish. For as far as preventing human diseases goes, with the amount of vitamin B12 in bouillabaisse, it can help prevent against megalobastic anemia. This is a blood condition that makes people constantly tired and weak, which is caused by a deficiency of vitamin B12. And the main ingredients in bouillabaisse are rich in vitamin B12, making it a great way to prevent megalobastic anemia. I found this information from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And so, with the amount of seafood in the dish, there's some risk. Seafood associated infections are caused by bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Vibrio infections are caused by ingesting contaminated seafood through exposure of an open wound to seawater. Bouillabaisse started as a dish sailors would make with the leftover seafood that wasn't sold, so therefore, back in the day, there were probably more risk with consuming it. There could have been reasons that the leftover fish wasn't sold, and it might have made people sick with Vibrio infections. The shrimp, fish, and shellfish could potentially cause many different diseases, and contaminated tomatoes could also cause salmonella and food poisoning. So there are some risks to this dish. So, how to tell with the ingredients if they're fresh or not? It is important to make sure that the ingredients are fresh and high quality when making bouillabaisse or eating it at a restaurant. With the many different types of fish and vegetables in the dish, there are a few things to look for when checking for the freshness. Traditionally, two main ingredients in bouillabaisse are whole fish and tomatoes. So for the whole fish, you want to look for bright colored or bright clear eyes and a metallic look on the skin of the fish, and there should be a very strong clean water smell when you pick out your fish. You can pretty much just tell which ones are fresh, and cooking it will not improve the smell of the fish, so make sure that you buy a fresh one. For the tomatoes, you want to avoid any blemishes or dark spots. They should be firm yet soft enough so if you give it a little squeeze, you can feel that the pressure is there a little bit. And they should have a bright red color and smell like a garden. Be wise with the ingredients that you choose for your bouillabaisse because it will result in the best possible outcome. The freshest and high quality bouillabaisse will come straight from France itself, but a solid dish can be made right at home if it's done correctly. For agriculture information, the shrimp, fish, and shellfish caught for the bouillabaisse can be produced year round, and tomatoes are best May through October in most places. They need the right amount of sunlight, that's direct sunlight, for at least 6 to 8 hours a day. And then, although tomatoes are seasonal, they can be grown in different places all year, so bouillabaisse can be made year round. Bouillabaisse is a showcase for sustainable seafood, having fresh fish, tomatoes, mussels, clams that are still in their shell. This dish is a classic Provençal fish soup. So here's a little recipe, just all the ingredients that traditional bouillabaisse has, including 3 large tomatoes, 3 pounds of different fish, 1 pound of mussels or clams, and a lot more. So it started off by cooking the leeks, funnel, and onions in oil, and then added the chopped tomatoes, bay leaf, garlic, thyme, saffron, salt, and orange zest. And then after the tomatoes are soft and broken down, the pieces of fish are brought to a boil with like 2 cups of water and then the clam juice or the fish stock. Now you put all this fish aside and add the shellfish, including the mussels, crabs, clams, or the squid. You bring that to a simmer with some black pepper and salt to taste. And then finally, it is portioned out into bowls and served with a thick slice of crusty French bread and a dollop of Ruelle. My experience tasting, so I got this bouillabaisse from the dining hall when they did like the night in Paris for dinner. It was served from a large pot with Ruelle on the side. I just tried the bouillabaisse by itself with no Ruelle, and there was a lot of pieces of shrimp and like big pieces of tilapia and whitefish. There were definitely big chunks of fish in the dish that I wasn't expecting, but the whitefish was soft and flavorful, and it kind of just melted in your mouth. And the shrimp had a tenderness that paired well with the smoothness of the tomato base, and the flavors were really good. They all really popped out. You could tell that they did a lot of spices, maybe some saffron in there too. The fish kind of fell apart, fell apart because it was so light, but it was really good. I really liked the amount of saltiness the bouillabaisse had. It was just enough, but not too overwhelming, and it had a tanginess as well. It reminded me of a chili and a little bit of a vegetable seafood version. This being my first time trying this dish, it had unique flavors that I've never experienced before, and it wasn't what I expected from a French dish, but it was really good. Overall, I enjoyed tasting the dish, and I learned a lot more about the history and culture of this traditional stew. Here's some pictures of what it would look like if you got it at like a really good restaurant in like France or something, maybe like Paris. These are like the best examples of what traditional bouillabaisse looks like. And then here's the one I tried. It was from the dining hall, so it doesn't look exactly like those, but it was pretty good, honestly. It had a lot of large pieces of fish that you can see. They topped it with some parsley. There was a lot of vegetables in there, and the red color comes from the tomatoes, which made it pretty good. So my culture and social perspectives, I've never even heard of bouillabaisse until trying it for the first time, and I think that my social perspective has influenced the food I've eaten my entire life, and that has led me to not being exposed to many French foods. Traditional French food is not typically in the restaurants that I go to, or it's cooked when I'm home, and there are a lot of tomatoes and fish used in the recipes I eat, but I haven't explored ways that other cultures use these ingredients, like through this bouillabaisse. And I think that this class has helped me branch out and try food from different cultures. Here are the references I use for all of my slides. Here's the other page of references, and that is it. Thank you.